Good morning. It is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. Remember this date because I think we're going to be talking about this one for quite a while based on what's happening with Hurricane Melissa and its approach to Jamaica. We're going to see a landfall this morning, and already those hurricane force winds starting to nudge up along the Jamaican southern and southwestern coast. So here's what we have. Our headlines: Hampton Roads. We've got our own issues to deal with. We're going to talk about our potential for tidal flooding, for winds and rain here in Hampton Roads. We have Jamaica bracing for Melissa. So here we go. We've been talking about Melissa for a while, and it is following that forecast track, bringing it back towards the western half of Jamaica. They are set for impacts there. We also have, coming up in this half-hour show, we've got the forecast and impacts updates on what it's going to do with not only Jamaica, but as it moves towards Cuba and eventually the southern Bahamas. This thing may hold together and impact Bermuda as well. So we're going to be talking about Melissa for a while. We have a severe weather wrap-up from Florida. Yesterday, if you watched the weather desk, I talked about the severe weather outlook and tracked a couple areas that I thought were pretty suspicious down in Florida, some potential hooks, and maybe I said, maybe a tornado or a water spout. Well, we'll show you some video from Florida, what resulted from those storms coming up. And then we're going to look ahead to the week and Halloween outlook, not just for Hampton Roads, but I've got kind of a national outlook for Friday as well. We'll let you know who's going to have good weather for trick-or-treating across the country, because here on the weather desk, certainly we focus on the Mid-Atlantic and Hampton Roads, Northeast North Carolina, but we also look across the entire region here in the Mid-Atlantic. We look up and down the East Coast, across the country, and many times around the world. We cover the big weather stories, and this is what we're going to run through today. We're going to start off with the weather impact alert for Hampton Roads, and this is due largely to the threat of tidal flooding, but we also have really windy conditions, not this elevated fire danger. I'm not sure where that came from. Anyway, we have the weather impact alert for tidal flooding, for very strong winds, and for some rain as well. It is a raw day. So we'll start with a look at the wind advisories that are up for the eastern shore. You can see that does include Accomack and Northampton, also Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and Portsmouth. Down along the Outer Banks, Currituck and Dare counties, all under this wind advisory. Terrell County as well. So we'll be watching as these winds have already been gusting up around 44 miles per hour at Mania. We saw a gust to 44 in Norfolk, 41 in Virginia Beach, 40 in Elizabeth City. These are some of the peak wind gusts this morning. Out on Duck Pier, which is not far from Currituck, it's out there on the ocean water, we have Duck Pier picking up gusts into the 50s. So it has been a little bit stronger there. And I suspect Virginia Beach, that's at Oceana, that 41 mile per hour gust, which is inland a few miles. You get out on the beaches and you're seeing winds there gusting in the mid to upper 40s as well. So very windy out there. Here's some recent gusts for you. Again, 44 at Norfolk, 44 in Manio. The winds continue to build this morning. As we show you a few other locations, Duck Pier, there you go. A 54 mile per hour gust. And again, that's on a fishing pier right there at Duck. 41 in Virginia Beach, 36, the latest gust up at Wachapreague. We've seen gusts even back towards Elizabeth City around 40 miles per hour. So the wind advisory is in place. You need to know it is going to be very windy. And with the winds coming in from the northeast, that pushes water into the opening of the Chesapeake Bay. It takes water that's in the lower part of the bay and can drive it down into Hampton Roads, specifically the James River and the Elizabeth River start to back up. We might even see some high water levels. We will see some around York, but there at Yorktown, it's not going to be quite as bad as what we see in some other places like the Lynnhaven Inlet. We expect moderate tidal flooding there. So these are the winds that are driving the tide levels. And as we go through the day, while we have these types of ranges right now, 35 to 40, pretty widespread. We've seen similar amounts around Norfolk and Chesapeake down to Elizabeth City. We've seen 40 mile per hour gusts, those higher gusts there closer to the Outer Banks. As we go through the late morning and into the afternoon, we're going to see some of these areas seeing some higher gusts like Chincoteague, 40 to 50, 40 to 50, Virginia Beach, 50 to 60. Again, I already saw those wind gusts up into the mid-50s at Duck Pier. We could see more of that down along the Outer Banks. That's going to create the rough surf, which can lead to beach erosion, something that's been a big story in the recent weeks down along the southern Outer Banks, where we've lost a little bit. I think it's 7 homes total so far with the beach erosion this just recently over the last couple of months. So we have more concerns there along the Outer Banks. We'll continue to watch that. As we go through the late afternoon, it's still quite breezy. Heading into the evening, eventually things will start to ease up. Showing you some of the buoy data. We had a 35 mile per hour gust down to the south, 37 mile per hour winds around Hatteras, 49 at this buoy offshore. These are actually some sustained winds. The Oregon Inlet Marina was seeing winds up around the upper 40s as well. Those buoys largely offshore have been picking up the heavier sustained winds. We've been seeing gustier conditions near the coast. Now, as we talk about the wind-driven tide levels, we are going to see minor to moderate tidal flooding. And you see at Kip to Peak, 4.6 feet, Fort Monroe, 5.3, Yorktown, 4.6 feet. Here's where it gets more interesting. Smithfield, moderate at 4.4. And I will tell you at Lynn Haven, there at the Lynn Haven Inlet, we're looking at 5.0. This is a high enough water level to be classified as moderate tidal flooding. This is where we start to see water where it really shouldn't be. A lot of times, you know, we deal with minor tidal flooding or nuisance tidal flooding. And yeah, it's an inconvenience, but people know it's like, okay, this is where it floods a lot when we get these stronger northeast winds. But when you get into the moderate levels, that's where it becomes more problematic. You have to start rerouting travel a little bit, traffic through certain areas, and this can start to lead to some issues with property. So we're looking at these moderate levels for Lynn Haven and Smithfield. But here's the thing. Sewell's Point is a measuring stick for Norfolk and for Hampton Roads. And right here at Sewell's Point, we're expecting 5.4 feet. Technically minor, but it's very close. 5.5, it becomes moderate. And I got to tell you, with these winds maybe overperforming some of the model guidance, it would not be a shocker at all to see our water level top out a bit higher than that. So we may very well see some moderate tidal flooding around Norfolk. And again, that could lead to more trouble, especially if you're traveling around the region this morning. You take a look here and you can see there's wet weather in the forecast, not tremendous amounts of rain, but there will be some rain that'll be off and on through the day today. We have a chance for a few showers tomorrow and more rain with another system coming through on Thursday. After that, things do start to look better for us as we head to the weekend. So this is why we have our weather impact alert. It's really all day because of the wind and rain, but specifically from 11 through about 5 o'clock this afternoon for that potential tidal flooding. All right, we're going to get into our other top story, and that is Hurricane Melissa. 175 mile per hour maximum sustained winds. Gusts have been up around 215. Right now, the Caribbean is dealing with this massive hurricane, a Category 5. It is a slow-moving system, but it is starting to make a little bit of an increase with its forward motion. I'll talk more about that, but it is starting to impact southwestern Jamaica and will make landfall in the next couple of hours. Let's take a live look at conditions there. These camera shots are from Sea Jamaica. Now, the shot on the left shows water rushing near the flat bridge in the capital of Kingston. Now, that's just off to the northwest of Kingston. And again, that is Rio Cobra right there in Jamaica. All right, the shot on the right shows the rain and strong winds. ABC's Lionel Moyes has a closer look at the preparations as Melissa gets closer.
Jamaica is bracing for the most powerful storm on record to hit the island, up to 40 inches of rain, more than 13 feet of storm surge. Melissa approaching as a Category 5 hurricane overnight with winds up to 175 miles per hour. Sparks flying as winds damage trees and power lines. This video from Air Force hurricane hunters shows inside the eye of Melissa, the eye wall nearly vertical. The flight forced to turn back after hitting severe turbulence. A Miami-based hurricane researcher calling it the most turbulent he's ever seen.
They had to go back for inspections to make sure the aircraft is okay. That is really kind of a haunting report.
Local officials telling people in low-lying areas last night to get out now. ABC's Ika Jachi is in Kingston.
People here in Jamaica are stocking up on water, stocking up on non-perishable foods, and moving to higher elevations, all while making sure the vulnerable population has everything they need.
The United Cajun Navy, formed after Hurricane Katrina, ready to assist.
We have folks on the ground waiting to take assessments, let us know what the needs are.
Aid groups from the U.S. already in Jamaica say they're planning for long-term airport closures. Tourists are stranded, forced to ride out the storm and foot the bill. Nearly 30 people from a wedding, including the bride and groom, now sharing an Airbnb after their resort said it would charge up to $200 extra per night to extend their stay.
We're all here together, hunkering down. We just cleaned up and moved all patio furniture out of the way, put everything up there where we could. We're going to tape the windows.
And a couple from Arkansas celebrating their anniversary, now stranded.
We have 2 kids back home. So they were expecting their parents back on Sunday night.
Melissa is making landfall later this morning, and the big concern is flooding, landslides, and those catastrophic winds. Cuba will be next. The U.S. Navy already evacuating non-essential personnel from Guantanamo Bay. Lionel Moise, ABC News, New York.
All right, it's not just Jamaica that is bracing for this storm. They are under hurricane warning. Eastern Cuba is, you just heard in that report, non-essential personnel evacuated from Guantanamo Bay. The southern parts of the Bahamas are also under this hurricane warning. And then for the Turks and Caicos and Haiti, they are under tropical storm warnings. Now, these impacts are being felt out away from the center. Take, for instance, in Haiti, you can see some of the streets already flooded as the island is especially concerned about damage to crops. More than half of the Haitian population is experiencing crisis levels of hunger. So damage to crops is absolutely devastating. Cuba also preparing for the storm. The island could feel the worst of those impacts. It will feel the worst of those impacts after the system passes Jamaica. More than 250,000 people there are already in shelters, while 500,000 more have been evacuated from the coast. They are taking this seriously, and they must. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on that. I want to show you now a little bit more, and I'll do just a little bit of analysis here with what's going on. You can see the movement was nearly stationary. It stopped, and then it started moving to the north-northeast. All of this was really handled beautifully with the forecast guidance. The Hurricane Center has done a great job on calling that stall and then the redirection and the steering of this back up towards Jamaica. Now, it's a terrible situation for Jamaica, but at least, again, they've had some time to know that this was approaching. This morning, the movement was very slow, only 3 miles per hour at the 2 a.m. update. At 5 o'clock, the forward motion picked up to 5 miles per hour, and it's now moving at 7 miles per hour closer to the Jamaican coast. I want to get in here with this satellite look here, and the color-enhanced satellite images show you how close the eye is to the center of this. Let's take this full so I can do a little more analysis for you on this. And what you're seeing here, the center of this system has a diameter of about 15 miles. So I can just show you this. And again, we're doing this all live, kind of on the fly here. So you can see, again, measuring this system from one side to the other. Well, it's actually broadened a little bit, but it's about, let's say, 18 miles or so across the center of this thing, 17, 18 miles. All right, that is moving along. From the center of this system out about 30 miles or so, that's where we find the hurricane force winds. So when you start at the center of the hurricane and you go out 30 miles, you can see now those hurricane force winds starting to reach the coast of Jamaica. They are really just getting started with this. Previously, the hardest hit Jamaica has taken from a hurricane was Gilbert back in 1988. They've had a bunch of very near misses with some of these massive hurricanes, categories 4 and 5. But Gilbert came in 1988 on September 12th, did a lot of damage, wiped out their crops. There were long-term outages, 500,000 people displaced. This right now, Melissa, what's hitting the island this morning will be the worst on record to ever hit Jamaica. Category 5, the winds now up to 180 miles per hour. They did a special 9 a.m. update, folks. We're looking at this. This is the first time I've seen this update. All right, let's take a look at this. Go full on this again, and I'm going to shuttle through this. 180 mile per hour maximum sustained winds, gusts still to 215 miles per hour. As this thing moves into Jamaica here, and they're feeling now, just starting to feel those hurricane force winds, we are going to see, let's back it up, we are going to see this thing crossing Jamaica as this Category 5 system may weaken a little bit, may not weaken much. You can see now the updated forecast track has this maintaining Category 5 strength. Previously, the Hurricane Center believed it would be disrupted enough by Jamaica to knock it back to a 4. It now looks like it will make landfall over eastern Cuba as a Category 5 system and then weaken once it moves across Cuba, the mountainous terrain there, disrupting some of the flow, then back across the southern portions of the Bahamas. We'll see it then moving off and approaching. There's Bermuda right there, that tiny island just on the right side. This is going to happen Thursday night into early Friday, and I'll have a more detailed look at that coming up. Let's look at the wind field forecast here. As I mentioned, we are right now just seeing the leading edge of the hurricane force winds reaching it. Thus far, they've been dealing with tropical storm force winds. This is now the leading edge of the hurricane force winds overtaking the coastal sections of Jamaica, overtaking the island as we go through 12:30, 1 o'clock here. As we get into the afternoon, 3:15, still much of Jamaica dealing with hurricane force winds. Think about the damage that these winds are going to be doing. And again, as you go up some of these higher elevations, we talked to one of my coworkers, family members. They said, well, we're in the mountains. We're going to be okay. We don't have to worry about the flooding. The problem is, as you go up higher, you have to worry about mudslides, landslides, the torrential flooding rain. And then the winds can even be focused a little bit higher up at those higher elevations than the surface. By 4:45, 5 o'clock, now we're starting to see most of the hurricane force winds pulling away, but it's not going to be until about 6 or so that the last of the hurricane winds pull off. Still tropical storm force winds into the evening, but then by 11 o'clock, it's Cuba that deals with the hurricane force winds moving through overnight. A terrible night for folks in Cuba dealing with this major hurricane, Category 5 expected at landfall, Cat 4 weakening to a Cat 2, maybe a Cat 3 coming off on the other side of Cuba and then making a run across the southern Bahamas. This is how this thing looks. And again, we're going to see, it looks like later into Thursday, that chance for Bermuda to also see some of those hurricane force winds. Here again, the advisory at 9 a.m. You can see how it is forecast to move along. Winds at 140 by 2 a.m. tomorrow. And then after that, off it goes around Duncantown, Snug Corner, Clarence Town. You see some of these different communities there and the islands and towns that will be dealing with this. Again, by early Friday, it'll be passing Bermuda as a Cat 1 or maybe a Cat 2. Another look at it with one of our models again coming in and rolling across Jamaica here. This is through the day today. After that, it takes aim on Cuba tonight. Again, powerful winds, heavy rains rolling through. There's Guantanamo, kind of spared the very center of the system, but they're on that right front side. So not only are they going to be dealing with these damaging winds across Cuba, but you've got to watch. You know there's going to be multiple tornadoes spinning up around some of those bands as it interacts with land. It always seems to happen. As we take a look again, Clarence Town, Snug Corner, Port Nelson, Cockburn Town, some of these different areas that will be dealing with it. And then we take a look off to the northwest, eventually up towards Bermuda. So a lot going on here. The model's very much in agreement that this is going to happen. All right, what we're going to do now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back in 2 minutes, we're going to focus more on the outlook across the country. We've got that severe weather wrap for Florida, and we will continue to keep an eye to things down around Jamaica. That's after the break. All right, a quick programming note. Remember, you're going to get the full update on the tropics. Obviously, Jamaica hit today as Cuba braces for it tonight. You need to tune into Hurricane Hub Live. We do this each and every day at 8 o'clock right here on 13 News Now Plus. Of course, we stream a lot on YouTube as well, but 13 News Now Plus, the way to catch it all live, and it happens every night at 8 o'clock. So it's a deeper dive, and with Cuba next in line, you definitely want to stay tuned. We're watching Jamaica this morning through midday. I'm going to have special additional coverage coming up a little bit later on after the weather desk in about an hour or so here on 13 News Now Plus as well. So a lot of ways to get information on the tropics. I want to take you back in time to yesterday, though, because we had a tough situation down in Florida, and parts of the United States are cleaning up from the severe weather that impacted the country. You can see again, this is a 24-hour loop as things were playing out Monday. And as we take a look here, you can see again, this was a dangerous situation down along the southeast coast and specifically Florida with the aftermath, heavy rain, flooding, and a possible tornado. Take a look. A twister suspected to have touched down Mexico Beach on Monday morning. That's about 30 minutes away from Panama City in the Florida Panhandle. National Weather Service will now survey the damage to confirm if, in fact, it was caused by a tornado or just strong winds. I will tell you, again, as we watched right here 24 hours ago on the weather desk, I was showing you a couple areas that look very clearly like hook tornadoes or hook echoes, kind of signatures on the southwest side of some of these cells moving through. And I was talking at that time that at least water spouts, if not tornadoes, they looked more like tornadic signatures. So I won't be surprised at all to hear that that is confirmed. Just as we're waiting for word from the National Weather Service. In Central Florida, heavy rain and flooding put some cities underwater. This is a look at the flooding in Titusville, about an hour east of Orlando. Cars got stuck in the floodwaters and rescue crews used boats to reach some of the victims. The intense flooding caused roads to crumble, and it was just a terrible scene in nearby Mount Dora. ABC News has a closer look at the damage.
Dramatic video from Drone 9 shows land crumbling behind homes in Mount Dora. It's just off North Donnelly Street, the main drag that takes you to the heart of downtown. The road is no longer accessible after rain washed large sections of it out.
We experienced complete washouts and mass system failures due to this heavy rain. Waterman Village had a stormwater breach that contributed to the Donnelly Street collapse. And combined with stormwater flow and downtown, it just got overwhelmed in the drainage network.
A car could be seen flipped upside down, but thankfully no one was inside.
My first thought was, oh my gosh, is there somebody in there that's drowned during the night? Because the water obviously must have been pretty high in that ditch.
Residents reacted when they saw the damage in the daylight. Kenzie Woodward struggled to navigate the high water as she tried to drive home from work Sunday night.
I've been processing a lot of that as I'm watching it. It's helping, but also, a lot of emotions to think that it could have been, it could have been something that I drove right into.
Wolf Branch Road also washed out. We saw a car stranded in high water and at least one home with water inside.
I trust in the higher power, and he blessed me greatly. I can tell you, I went out and was praising him up and down because I have very little damage to my property.
All right, a lot of folks being impacted by some of the wild weather across the U.S. and obviously in the tropics. That will continue to be a huge story we'll keep you updated on. Rain here today, a little bit of a break, and another round of rain coming in late Wednesday night into Thursday. As far as the severe weather outlook goes, today it's down across Louisiana and Texas. The rest of the country really not anticipating much. I will say for some of these areas, including Lake Charles, and you see Houston here, Alexandria, Shreveport, there is the potential. It's not a great potential, but it is slightly elevated for tornadoes. You also have wind and then, of course, hail, another consideration. So some rough weather for East Texas around the Houston, Galveston areas over to Lake Charles, Alexandria, and Shreveport. We'll keep an eye to things there. Here locally, weed pollen low, not a big deal there. We do have the clouds, rain and wind. Look at the trees rustling around. We are getting some color, but wouldn't you know it, as soon as the color starts to arrive here in Hampton Roads, we get the winds and the rain to start stripping the trees, and we're seeing some of that right now around Hampton Roads. Roads. Sustained winds at the airport, 21 miles per hour from the north-northeast. Marine forecast, we've got gale warnings up for the bay and for the ocean. So obviously a terrible time to be out on the water. The sea's running 9 to 13 feet. I put this plus here because marine forecasters made a note, occasional 18 to 19 footers not out of the question. A few larger kind of rogue waves out there, but in general, probably more like 10 to 13. At any rate, small craft, you don't want to play with that. Just to stay in port, obviously. All right, our chances for rain remain high this morning. It'll drop a little bit as we go through the evening. And tomorrow, there'll be a chance for a few spotty showers here and there, but the rain chances go up again late Wednesday into Thursday with that next round of wet weather. After that, things improve significantly as we get into our weekend. So you can see again that rain moves out tonight. We'll be ready for that break. Again, another half an inch of rain or so. So not a tremendous amount of rain, but we do have that potential. We've been dealing with the heavy rain. This graph model, I think, is out to lunch. Look at the GEM, the Euro, the GFS, and the NAM, all much lower. So I wanted to share that with you so you can see generally we're not looking at a tremendous amount of additional rain, but there is the potential for some light to moderate areas across the region. Today's highs upper 50s again. The weather impact alert for some tidal flooding overnight tonight. The showers decrease. Lows near 53, 64 tomorrow. How about that forecast for Halloween? We want to talk about this. Told you we'd take a look nationally. Heading into your Halloween weekend, things looking good along the East Coast. Cleveland a little soggy, maybe some of the trick-or-treaters dodging a few raindrops there. Pretty quiet in the central part of the country. I'm always happy to report that. And out west, things are looking good around LA, Vegas, Phoenix, Denver. Friday looking good. San Francisco and Billings, some showers up around Seattle. What about the scarecast for Hampton Roads? Friday evening, it's really not scary at all. Skies are going to be mainly clear. Temperatures in the 50s. It will be a little breezy, but overall things looking good. There's the rest of the 7-day forecast. So good looking weather on Friday. Again, temps into the 50s for the trick-or-treaters. A quiet night weather-wise. That's good. Saturday looks beautiful. Sunday, a few more clouds. Another chance for showers on Monday. All right, we've packed a lot into this half hour. As I mentioned, we're going to have special programming on 13 News Now. Plus, we are a coastal community here in Hampton Roads. We care very much about the tropics. And quite frankly, our staff of meteorologists are well experienced in forecasting and tracking these systems. So we've got additional special programming. We'll have another update with the 11 o'clock update. We may do something a little bit earlier, maybe around 10:30. We'll get it started and just talk about what's going on in the tropics with Melissa specifically. So stay tuned for that right here on 13 News Now Plus, and check back later in the afternoon for additional live stream coverage at 13 News Now Plus on the tropics and on our weather impact alert for Hampton Roads. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, you can always get the latest news, traffic, and weather on the go with the 13 News Now mobile app. If you scan that QR code, it is a great way to have access to our radars, to our weather updates and news updates, traffic, breaking traffic as well. We've got you covered. Thanks so much for joining us here for the Weather Desk. Again, I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller. I hope you have a great day. And again, keep the folks in Jamaica and in eastern Cuba in your thoughts and prayers as they deal with Melissa.